Do you have any idea on what happened when Jesus walked on water? Can someone tell me something? Or do you want to know? So there's something in the story of when Jesus walked on the water that almost nobody tells you. There's something that most people never see. When we see that Jesus walked on water, we see the bravery that others had when they walked with him. But we forget that the disciples were in a storm. But that storm represents something that nobody ever tells us. So before that, we're going to be reading on Matthew 22, when Jesus walks on water. So immediately Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Right here in this passage, we can see after Jesus fed the 5,000 people, 5,000 men, women, and children, that he fled from there. But before that, he told the disciples to go on a boat and to go to the other side. Why did he do this? Why would he do this? This question has a simple answer. The people he had fed, people that Jesus had fed and given bread and fish to, they were in their flesh. What do we mean by flesh? Well, these people, they wanted Jesus to be their king, but they only wanted him to be their king, not because they knew Jesus on a certain level, but because Jesus gave them what they thought they needed, food. And since Jesus provided for them, why wouldn't he be king? Why can't he be king? But all of these feelings they felt from their flesh. There was no spirit behind it. So Jesus, knowing that they were in their flesh, Jesus knowing that they were imperfect and that their desires were not the desires of God, he told his disciples to go away from them by telling them to go to the other side. He told them this because he didn't want them to be affected by their flesh. He didn't want them to act like them. He wanted them to remain in their spirit. But because Jesus was also human at this time, he also had to flee from them. So he went up to a mountain. He went up to a mount and he prayed to God till night. He prayed all of these hours to God. And he talked to him, spoke with him, and at night he left. But what about the disciples? They were in a boat and they had to cross the river. Well, there was something unfortunate that happened to the disciples. They were caught in a storm. But this storm represents something. That is the troubles of this world. So when God appoints you a storm, when God's will for you is to go through a storm, he wants you to be better. He wants you to have faith in him. He wants you to believe in him. That's why you go through a storm. Obviously, if it's not because of your flesh, but because of your spirit. Because we cannot be mistaken. There are things that we put for ourselves, but there are things that God puts in front of us. But this storm, it was God appointed. Because the disciples went where Jesus told them to go. So they followed his instructions. They followed his orders. They were in a storm. They were afraid. They probably thought that they would die. But before something bad really happened to them, Jesus came to them. He came by walking on water. And they had been hours and hours in this storm. It was a long time. And they hadn't reached the other side yet. They were close, but they still weren't there. But Jesus, he came to them when they needed him the most. When they couldn't use their own strengths, Jesus calmed the storm. So there's something that we can really learn from this. We can learn that when we are on a storm, if it is God's will, then he will come for you. He will rescue you. He will comfort you. He will always be there. And he will always know what you're going through. He knows how you feel. He knows that this storm is probably wrecking your life. But there's something that this storm does. What's that? It builds up your faith. It builds you up, because this storm will help you. The storm that God will appoint for you will help you go back to Him, because you do need Him. That's why He will come to you. So we cannot forget that He will always be there. That when we have our troubles, He will always come to you. We cannot forget that. And even if we do not feel Him right now, He is always watching you. He is always making sure you have what you need. He's always making sure that you are at your best or that you're at your lowest. He's always making sure that everything's all right. And if it's in His will, it's in His time, everything will be fine. Thank you.